Hey everyone, so in this video, we're going to go over how to install ComfyUI on your Windows computer. And before we get into that, if you'd like, comment, subscribe, that'd be amazing. So now let's dive in. So first off, we're going to go to the GitHub for ComfyUI. And one of the things that they note in this GitHub is that you want to make sure that you have Python 3.11 and nothing later, because it's not supported for that. So make sure that you have that version of Python. We have some different shortcuts here, as well as some different examples, and then we get down to installing. And with the Windows, we're going to just do a direct link to download. And when you download that, it's going to give you a zip file. It's going to take a little bit, and it'll just be a zip file that looks like this. And when you open that zip file, you're going to have something that looks similar to this. Now, what you're going to do is what I like to do anyway when I installed it, is all I did was I just found the drive I wanted it to be in, and I just dragged and dropped it in there, and it took a few minutes to install, so be aware of that. So now we're going to go into where ComfyUI is installed. Let's get rid of this, and you're going to see something that looks like this. Now, it's important to note here that we have CPU and GPU. If you do not have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can't use this one, it won't work. But you can use the CPU version. Just be, of course, it's going to run slower because you're running on CPU. Now, if you click on README, very important, it's going to just give you some, other things that you should know about. One of the things is that, you need to have a checkpoint or a model for ComfyUI, otherwise it's not going to work. And then they're also showing you that if you want to update, you can go into update here and click on update ComfyUI, and it will update the Comfy for you. So now let's get ourselves a model. Of course, you can download it from this link, but I recommend you go to a site like Civitai and download like the deliberate model, for example. You can just type it in and you'll find it, or you can download anything else that shows up on the site, as long as it makes sense for what you were trying to do. We are using 1.5. You can see it's around 2 gigs. That's what I downloaded earlier. And if you want, wherever you have your download of that model, you're going to, if I go back to Comfy here, I'm going to go to ComfyUI, we're going to go to Models, Checkpoints, and then we're going to put that checkpoint in this little box right here. Now, say you have Stable Diffusion installed on your computer already, and you have a bunch of models and LoRa's and other things installed. Well, thankfully, we don't have to use duplicates because that would suck. So what you're going to do is we are going to go into ComfyUI again, and you can scroll down here, and we see that we have extra model paths.yaml.example. So you can just do a Control-C and Control-V, and you're going to see that I made a copy of this, and I've done this a couple times. And so you're going to get rid of this example part, and then for what I normally will do is I'll just have it do it, it'll just be extra model paths.yaml, but for this example, because I've done it once or twice already, I'm going to put a 3. Go ahead and click yes, and now we have this extra paths. Now, if I double click on this, for me, it's going to open in Visual Studio, but for you, it might open in a Notepad. So like if you want to choose what you want to open it within, it could be Notepad++ or something else. Any kind of text editor will work. So we see here that it says, okay, base path to Stable Diffusion Web UI, keep this as is, but we have our checkpoints, and we're like, okay, so our checkpoint's going to be model/Stable Diffusion. Well, that doesn't really work because that's not where it's saved on my computer. But if I go into where I've saved Stable Diffusion, and I go to models here, and then I go to Stable Diffusion, now this is where my models live. So I can click on the top here. I'm going to do a Control-C, let's move this out of the way, and we're just going to replace this and put that in there. And we're going to do that for each section of the things that I have. So when that is done, it's going to look something like this. And you can see that they're all on my E drive, and that's where I put everything. So if you already have models and stuff, then that's the place that you're going to want to put that. Now that that's all done, let's jump into Comfy, and you can do that really easily. Let's kill these for my own sake. And I can just click on Run NVIDIA GPU, and that's going to bring up Comfy. All right, so your screen might look something like this. Now we're going to go through, this simple workflow to generate an image, and then we're going to get a little more in depth. So first of all, we have our checkpoint. You can load your checkpoint here. I have a whole bunch. And if you want to try to find one, you can just go ahead and type it in there and find the checkpoint you're looking for. Now, the other thing you might see is these might not be labeled how, positive and negative. So what you can do is you can go ahead and right click and go to title. And if we want to put in positive prompt, we can go ahead and set that up. So this is a simple prompt, masterpiece HDR Victorian portrait painting of a woman, blonde hair, mountain, nature, blue sky. We have some of our negatives, and that's where the prompts are. And then we have our case sampler. We need to make sure that we have an empty latent image. If we do not have that, it will not work. So make sure you have it. And then we have our case sampler, which does a lot of the heavy lifting. And then we decode what this went through, and we have our image. So I'm going to go ahead and click Q right now. There we go. And you can see the green box that went through and it generated our image. Anytime there's a green box, that is where the AI is at the moment. So now this generated an image. And if we want to go and find that image, what you'll do is you'll just go to your ComfyUI. You're going to go to outputs. And I have a bunch here, and you can see the one we just generated. Now, what's really, really cool is every time you generate an image or a video, you can see I have some videos and images in here, is it's going to give you that image no matter what. And you can drag and drop that image into ComfyUI, and it will show you the workflow that generated that image. So first off, if we go to the GitHub and you look at the examples page, you can click that. It's going to bring up a whole bunch of examples for you to use. We click on high-res fix. That's going to give us this image right here, and that's where I got the prompt. And you can just right-click and save image as. And if you do that, and I go ahead and drag in that image, I'm going to bring this here. It's going to give you that workflow, which is super, super cool and makes just managing this sort of thing way easier. So something else to know within this kind of workflow is now we're in high-res fix, right? But say I just want to try to get the image first without trying to upscale it, and I want to save some time. So what you're going to do is you can do this thing called bypass, and you can do it with an individual node, or you can do it with a group of nodes. So you can see that these nodes are in a group, and this is where the high-res stuff is happening. So what you can do is you can either right-click and do bypass group nodes, which is cool, or I can bring those back the same way, or I can just go ahead and highlight all of these by shift and then left clicking, and then I can do a control B that will bypass all of them as well. Do the same thing to undo that bypass. That I find really useful, especially when I'm dealing with stuff like this, because if I make something I like and I want to save that time, I can always, it's like, okay, cool, I like that image, and then I can, drag that image in case I did a bunch, and I can put it to fixed, and then that way it will run that same seed that I did, and that will work. Another thing with this is if I want to, this is what I love more than automatic 1111. I can queue multiple things. Okay, cool. So it's saying that it doesn't have this thing. Okay, so because I loaded a new one, so that makes sense. So let's go to deliberate again. And if I want to do 2 queues, I can do that, which I think is really, really cool that it'll go ahead and do that for me. And it just went through that process. So that way, like overnight, if you're doing something and you want to do a bunch, like videos, and you want to review them in the morning, then you can, and I can set it to a specific limit. So I think that's wonderful. Now, let's say, for example, we have a workflow like this, where I don't have something in here. And I'm like, well, I don't know how this is going to work because I don't have this little box. Well, thankfully, we can use the ComfyUI Manager to do that. So first, we're going to go to Civitai again, and we're going to get the ComfyUI Manager. You can just go ahead and click on this and to download it. And then we're going to click on here. It's going to bring up a WinRAR, WinZip, something like that. And it's just going to give you this batch file. Now, what you're going to do then is you are going to go to where your ComfyUI is installed. And instead of putting it potentially like in custom nodes or something like that, you actually, once I have the right window open, just going to go ahead and drag and drop it in there. Now, once you do that, you then need to go ahead and double click, and it will bring up this window. And now you have it installed. If you want to check, you go to ComfyUI, Custom Nodes, and you'll see Manager right here. Once that's been installed, if you have Comfy running, you're going to need to exit out and start it again. So I've already done that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Run. And now we got Comfy up again. And you can see that we got this red box, right? Or I have it like right here. So what we're going to do is saying, okay, I'm missing these things. So I'm going to go ahead and click Close. I'm going to go ahead to, I'm going to click on Manager. I'm going to click on Install Missing Custom Nodes. And you'll see, oh, I'm missing this one for this workflow. So I can just go ahead and click Install. And now I'm going to, it says I need to restart Comfy. So we're going to go ahead and close this and restart one more time. You can see now we have what we were looking for. So that is absolutely fantastic. And that is pretty much all you need to know. One other quick little tip that's really nice, especially when you got complicated stuff like this, is this can be a little overwhelming. So what you can do is you can click on this little gear icon. We're going to scroll down and we're going to go to link render mode. And instead of spline, you can make it like straight, closed, click anywhere. And now we have all of these straight lines. And to me, that looks amazing and way easier to kind of see where things go. Another option you can do is linear. That'll give you this look. And then the last one, which I don't recommend because I like to know where things are going, is hidden, and close that. And now you don't know where anything's going. And there's like remote stuff that you can set up. But unless I've set it up myself, I don't know where goes what. And that can be confusing, even if I do know where goes what. So we'll keep it all straight for now. You can move around and do all sort of stuff. You can see they're hidden behind them. And that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.